This is the pre-conference to the International Conference 27th on Cultivating Education Reform. And I want to talk a little bit about the design of the conference and what we're hoping to accomplish this year, and a little bit about our philosophy. At the opening address on the first day of the conference, you'll hear this again. I think it's important to hear it now, so you have a sense of what we're trying to accomplish and how we're structuring our sessions. Our view is that the only way that you can learn anything well is to think it into your thinking. There is no shortcut to that. There is no simple way of doing that. And so what we're going to be doing in this session is precisely that. We're going to take one concept, one idea, and try to get command, let's say initial command of that one idea. And in order for you to do that, you have to do the intellectual work that's required. For those of you that are new, what we, again, ask you to do is to think about this concept of intellectual work, or intellectual discipline, developing intellectual skills, working your way intellectually through content. What we want our students to do is precisely that. We want them to learn to engage their minds in the process of learning. And we argue that if we're going to ask our students to do this, we have to be willing to do it ourselves, and we have to have a crystal clear concept of what that looks like. The way that we think about this is somewhat different from what you typically see at conferences, where you go to different sessions. There are lots of sessions to choose from. You go to those sessions, you sit and you listen to the information being given to you. And some of it is useful and you take it back and you can use it to some extent. We're not trying to do that here. We're trying to, as it were, cultivate the intellect. Your intellect, my intellect, and our students' intellect. So I'm not intellects, I guess. So I'm, to some extent, coming to you as quote, expert in critical thinking, but I'm more coming to you as a person interested in developing my own mind. And I think I'm most valuable to you as such. A person who takes my thinking seriously to the extent that I'm able to, given the barrier of egocentricity in my own mind. So we'll come back to that because that's obviously our focus for today. So at the conference, you're going to be doing the same kinds of activities all throughout these 6 days. So that you'll be reading, you'll be discussing, you'll be writing, you'll be explaining over and over and over again through the content. Because if you think about it, there are only a small set of ways to work anything into your thinking. You can read something, right? You can hear something. You can write about what you've heard or read. You can explain to someone else your understanding. You can draw your understanding. You can give an analogy. But there is a small set of ways to really work something into your thinking. So realize that you're going to be doing the same things over and over again. They're going to be somewhat mundane. They're going to be even sometimes, I don't want to use the word boring because I think if it's boring then you're not engaging your intellect. But what is true is that if I talk all day long, you'll learn very little. So that you want to really think about your concept of developing the mind in the background of your thinking as you move through this conference. Because you're here fundamentally to help your students develop their thinking. And I argue that a necessary condition for that is developing your own mind. That's the most important thing you can do for your students. Because when you have developed your own mind, the teaching strategies will come. Now, I'm not saying they'll come instantly and it'll be super simple, but I'm saying that this is a necessary condition. One of the big problems that we face in teaching is that teachers want the activities, they want the structures, they want to know how you teach critical thinking without thinking critically themselves. And I'm telling you that I don't know how to do that. If you figure it out, more and more people are coming to the concept of critical thinking in the world, but we're still just a tiny drop in the bucket. We're a very, very long way to go to ever affect the way people live on the planet. What we are concerned about at the Foundation for Critical Thinking is bringing about long-term change. And one of our emphases is on fair-mindedness. We don't just want our students to think better, we want them to think better ethically. And I would argue that if you're thinking well, truly, then you are also thinking ethically. But we kind of have to put that ethical dimension to the center for people to see it. So we want people to think better because we recognize that the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of your thinking. The quality of student learning is dependent on the quality of student thinking. So if they're thinking well, they're going to learn well. If they're thinking poorly, they're going to learn poorly. We're interested in students being engaged in the classroom. We don't want classrooms where students are able to daydream. We don't want classrooms where students are saying, when the hell do I get out of here? Why do I have to take this subject? Thank God I never have to take another class in history again when they graduate from high school. That's what we don't want. We want students to go out into the world with traits of mind, the disposition to persevere through complexities and problems, having intellectual humility, being able to distinguish clearly what they know from what they don't know in any given situation, which is the opposite of intellectual arrogance. So we want students who function in the world in a very different way from the typical person. And it's a long road from here to there. And we're not going to solve all the problems at this conference. We're going to take one more tiny step forward. If we do that, then we will have accomplished it. For those of you who are new, what I hope for you is that you will get hooked on the idea of critical thinking as being critical to living the examined life. That you come away with this idea. I don't really know what this is, but I think it's really good. No, not literally. But you will be confused, and you will, it is complicated. It's simple and it's complicated at the same time. So if you're confused and it's getting all in, jumble in your mind, that's fine. But if you leave with a sense that this is the real goal, this is worth my time, then we will have accomplished, I think, our most important goal for you. I want you to think of critical thinking like you think of sports. If I were going to teach you to play tennis, if I were really good at tennis, which I'm not, but I know a little bit about it, and you said, look, I want to learn to play tennis. So how long will it take you to teach me? I would say, well, how well do you want to play? Do you want to actually be able to play a game? Because if you want to learn how to play a game, that's going to take a little while. Do you want to just learn how to hit the ball against the wall? So I can do that more quickly. Do you want to be at the level of Roger Federer? If you want that, you've got to put your heart and soul into it. It is truly lifelong. So you have to make that decision. But I would say until we treat thinking the way we treat sports and other skill areas like music, we're never going to really achieve what we can in thinking. We take our thinking for granted. We assume that it's pretty good in any case. We don't assume, as a rule, that thinking can be flawed and is often flawed.